This is actually the first time the women will be included on the lacrosse front. And so we're just ready to show the world how exciting our sport is. We know how exciting it is. It's fast. It's nonstop action. If you turn on the TV this weekend and you watch championship series, we are, fighting like crazy to make plays on the field. It's physical. It's just nonstop action, and it's the best athletes in the world.
Joining us now, she's a lacrosse player for the Boston Guard of the Women's Lacrosse League. She played her college lax at Duke, then Boston College, and was a two-time Tewerton Award winner as the NCAA's Most Outstanding Player. She held the Division I record for women's lacrosse goals when she graduated and went straight to play for Team USA and Athletes Unlimited Lacrosse before joining the WLL when it launched last year. Lax experts call her the best player on the planet. It's Charlotte North. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, how are you guys? Thank you for having me.
There's no one better for me to ask. Did I say Tewerton Award right?
It's hard. It's Tewerton. It's a really, really special honor in our sport. It's the equivalent of the Heisman in football. A lot of history behind the award. It's really special.
Okay, well, I'll remember that because you've won 2 of them.
Exactly. Perfect.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're so excited to learn more about the WLL and its future and the WLL Championship Series that's closing out this weekend that folks can watch on the ESPN app and on the WLL streaming hub. But before we get to all that, I kind of want to go back and talk about when you were graduating college, what the post-collegiate landscape looked like. You graduated in 2022. What did it look like if you wanted to play pro or play for the national team? What were your options?
Yeah, so we had a professional league known as Athletes Unlimited when I graduated from college. And then it's been a lifelong dream of mine to have an opportunity to try out for Team USA and to be able to represent our country on the world stage. So I was very fortunate. While I was in college, I received an invitation to try out during my college career. And I was so nervous, so intimidated, as you can imagine. Just all the players that I've looked up to for as long as I can remember, being a part of that player pool and that tryout process. And it's some of the most intense meeting rooms and spaces and fields you'll ever see in the game. But I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to try out for that team. And then I played with Athletes Unlimited for a few years post-college.
Yeah, and before that, there were a couple leagues, United Women's Lacrosse League from 2016 to 18, Women's Professional Lacrosse League from 2018 to 2020. And it felt like there was a bit of a group with Athletes Unlimited, in part because it's part of this larger company that owns a number of different sports. You led the league in goals, 2-point goals, and points in each season. But that league ends up shutting down in 2025. It became clear that national team requirements for players leading up to the Olympics were going to make things really tough. A lot of players are coaching in college as well, so those schedules were interrupting things. And then the WLL might have played a little bit of a part in that. So were you surprised to see that AU lacrosse ended, or did it feel like WLL kind of came in and it was one or the other?
Well, the year this past summer, the schedule internationally, like you mentioned, was a bit crazy because we have different disciplines of our sport that are played, and the one that will be represented in Los Angeles in 2028 is sixes lacrosse. And so we had a sixes Team USA lacrosse team participating in the World Games in Chengdu, China, and then we also had our continental qualifier for the field team. What lacrosse fans are used to seeing before sixes became about, and that's the traditional 10v10 full field format. So we had a number of different international events on the calendar for the summer. So it made it a little bit hard to have that season. And ultimately they decided to shut it down. But we were so excited about building and seeing all of the behind the scenes work of the WLL and the excitement that was building to the inaugural championship series a year ago. And to see how excited fans were, how excited the pros were. The best players in the world were ready to suit up for these 4 teams and represent these 4 cities and just go compete. And it's just been nothing short of amazing. And it's just the beginning for us.
A little bit later, I want to talk about how sixes is different and which one you like more. But you mentioned the WLL. This feels different than Athletes Unlimited, in part because it's the traditional team format as opposed to Athletes Unlimited, where individuals win. It's also tied to a men's league, the Professional Lacrosse League, which, gives it a little bit of heft in terms of adopting and building off of an audience that's been created for that league. But we had a lot of questions when it started because they launched like a league with teams in cities that they didn't play in or for, and it ended up being just this one WLL championship series, a 1-week tournament in Virginia in February of last year using that sixes format. So What were you told when WLL started? And did you think for 2025, at least, it would just be that 1 week of competition?
So we knew that, a lot of players had anticipated playing that summer, whether it be with their national team or whether it be with Athletes Unlimited. And that pivoted quickly, as you mentioned. So we weren't sure what the schedule would look like. But what we did know is that we were going to play in the inaugural championship series, and how excited everybody was, from every player that has aspired to play this sport that we love for a living, to every fan and every young player that aspires to one day play professionally. I mean, everybody was so excited. And so leading into that championship series, we all, learned what teams we were a part of. We met our coaching staffs, and we were just so excited to be able to be on a team in a locker room, having team meetings, scouting our opponents, representing a city, and to move forward in that way. And so we also had an awesome all-star event in the summer that we were able to fit in between all the international events that I mentioned. And that was unbelievable. We played in Kansas City, Missouri, which is, not a traditional hotbed for the sport of lacrosse, but to see the way that they were excited for us to bring the highest level of our sport to them, to their backyard, to play in a beautiful NWSL venue. It was just so inspiring and motivating for the players, because we got to feel a taste of what is to come this summer when we have our first full season. And we will be traveling around, and we will be representing these cities, and getting to bring these, amazing teams and staffs who have worked tirelessly around the clock, getting to bring them to the fans. The fans have been amazing here at the championship series, right outside of DC. And we've felt their presence, whether, they love a certain team or player, whoever it is. They've showed out. We've had sold out crowds. They're watching on ESPN. But for us to be able to bring our best and our product to them directly in a city like Boston, the team I play for, that's something that, we are over the top about excited. And we're honored to represent these 4 locations. But more importantly, we can't wait to connect with the fans.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions about what's coming later this summer, but we'll get to that in a little bit, because I do want to ask you, in some women's sports, there's a real point of pride in not having to operate alongside a men's league. And in others like lacrosse, where the men's sport hasn't really broken through at the same level as some other professional sports, it's probably a great benefit, maybe even necessary, to build along with each other. Does it feel to you that being in a part with the PLL will benefit the growth of your sport?
I think certainly. I think you look at the way that, Paul Rabel, Mike Rabel, Rachel DeCecco, and a number of other people at the league have built the PLL and have built these incredible, markets for all these teams that they have, and for these professional players who now get to do this for a living, and call it their full-time job. Like that's the dream. And they're doing it in such an inspiring way. And I think the right way. And so we're lucky to be under that fold, and sort of to also, pave our own way and create our own individual team cultures and what our organizations look like. And, the sports, when you look at them from, a bird's eye view, men's and women's lacrosse are a little bit different. We wear different equipment. The style of the game is a little bit different. The type of athlete is a little bit different, but each game is exciting in its own right. And it feels really positive to be rowing in the same direction as these male athletes who want the same as us. And, again, I referenced LA 28 a little bit ago, but the men have been included in the Olympics before, quite some time ago. This is actually the first time the women will be included on the lacrosse front. And so we're just ready to show the world how exciting our sport is. We know how exciting it is. It's fast. It's nonstop action. If you turn on the TV this weekend and you watch Championship Series, we are, fighting like crazy to make plays on the field. It's physical. It's just nonstop action, and it's the best athletes in the world, I think, across any sport, because of what the sport requires of you in terms of athleticism and skill. But it is very special to be rowing in the same direction, to be able to represent, the Boston Guard, and have, the Boston Cannons on the men's side, which, gets the city equally as excited. It's been special to see what they've been building on the PLL side, and we're excited to pave our own way as well on the WLL side.
You mentioned the speed, and that's especially so in lacrosse sixes, which is what's going to be featured in the Olympics. Can you give us a very brief explainer of the biggest differences between sixes and regular lacrosse?
Yeah, so it's a little bit like rugby. So you have, your full field rugby, and then you have rugby sevens, or basketball. You have, 5-on-5, and then there's 3-on-3 basketball. So it's a shorter field. It's less people on the field at once. It's 5-on-5 plus a goalie, and it's equal possession and nonstop action. So in the field game, you have the full football size field. You've got a little bit more position specific type of players. You've got players that take the face off or the draw. You've got attackers, defenders, midfielders, kind of like in soccer. But in sixes lacrosse, it's more the pace of hockey where you are just shifting on and off. You are going both ways. You have to be in supreme shape and have elite endurance and athleticism. And you have to be able to do everything. Otherwise you get exposed. So it is so much fun to be out there on the field and to be in that condensed environment, but to be going back and forth, nonstop action. The scores that you will see in a sixes game are much higher than they would be in the field game, just because it is nonstop action. And as soon as you score a goal, the goalie's picking it up out of the back of the net and they're going the other way.
And there's a shot clock. So
it
forces you into action. You can't dick around with it. You got to make a move. And yeah, I heard someone describe it as like kind of like 5-on-5 basketball, but with a goalie. You've got pick and rolls and screen plays. It's a little bit more accessible version of the game for people who maybe are not as like familiar with lacrosse. What is this 2-point line that's new to the WLL this season? And will that be in the Olympics?
It will not be in the Olympics, I don't think, but it is new to the WLL this season. The men have been using it in both the sixes format and the outdoor 10-on-10 format. But we've been excited to have it implemented into our game. It just makes for more exciting plays, different schemes, different coaches are working on to either defend the 2-point shot or draw up a 2-point play. And it can also provide a lot of excitement and games can change on a dime because you can score a goal that's worth 2 or, vice versa get scored on. And it's just such a game of runs. And I think that's what's so exciting. And especially in sixes, you're never out of it and no lead is safe in sixes either. So you just have to be able to keep going, put your foot on the gas and play both sides of the ball. I think it's the best format for any youth player who is just starting the game. I think it is the perfect way to get acclimated to the skills and athleticism that the field game requires. And like you mentioned, less resources are required, less people are required on a team. And you can grab 5 buddies and go to the park and play against a team. And it doesn't require a whole lot. So it's really fun to get to play it at the highest level and then to get to see all these youth programs and everybody who's excited about the discipline.
Yeah, so the 2-point is just what it sounds like, except it's 2 points instead of 3, but it's like the 3-point line in basketball. Exactly. It's just a way to score more points. So you can get your Caitlin Clark, Sabrina Ionescu on in the middle of a game if you got that logo. Range. Yeah. So the squad that you captained, the Boston Guard, won the inaugural WLL Championship Series last year. You bested the 3 other teams, the California Palms, the Maryland Charm, and the New York Charging. So you do anticipate more competitions after this championship series that concludes this weekend. What is on the schedule for the Women's Lacrosse League?
So after the championship series concludes, we will be gearing up for our first ever full summer season. So this will be our first full go at it all summer. We'll be traveling around. We'll be playing in the 10v10 format, which is actually what we played in the All-Star game in Kansas City that I mentioned. So we got a little taste of that and it was unbelievably exciting. It was so close, even though it was an all-star game. Now we're going to be with our teams representing, our cities and continuing on what we've built from, the championship series on and adapting and adjusting because it's a different format, but one people are very familiar with. And we just can't wait to get out there and be traveling around and play on the weekends in the summer, play on TV and be able to, again, bring our product and the best players in the world to these markets where they are so excited to have professional lacrosse for the first time. Some of them, for so long, the college game was the most talked about version of the game, the most viewed version of the game, the most attended version of the game. And now you're seeing the tides kind of shift a little bit. You're seeing all these college players come into the professional game and have a place to play and do it for a living and get to play all summer long and compete for a championship that we will soon find out who will take home this September.
So starts in May. It looks like, and then ends in August in Philadelphia, maybe. So it's just the 4 original teams to start out with, right?
Yes. Yep.
But I'm also seeing some neutral market games. So kind of like the PWHL's takeover tour where they'll send 2 teams to a city that doesn't have a team yet. One of which is my city of Chicago. So I'll have to keep an eye out for when y'all are coming to see me. Is it all 4 teams that are going to go to each of those cities or just 2 at a time?
Each team has a different schedule, so there'll be certain teams on certain weekends. But Chicago's a budding lacrosse town in the Midwest. They have Northwestern, which is a premier women's program. The Final Four will actually be hosted by them for the women in college on Memorial Day weekend at the end of May. And then to see the way that they have, embraced pro lacrosse. They don't have a team yet. Hopefully one day, that will be the case. But they have embraced the pro game. They show up. They are excited for us to come there, and hopefully we can have you out to a game.
I love this. So this is just coming out because just a couple of weeks ago when I was looking for more information about the WLL season, it wasn't out yet, but now you've got this full season. So folks can go to thewll.com/schedule and see this schedule for the first 2026 season that includes that Chicago date, San Diego, a couple other places that'll be fun for folks to check it out. Before we get to that season, we do have to conclude this championship series. Last week, the series got underway and it will conclude this week. And your guard fell to the Charging in a rematch of last year's championship final, which means your next game, which is Friday against Maryland, 6 Eastern, basically a must win to make the semifinals, right?
Right. It is a must-win situation for us, but we couldn't be more excited for the opportunity. You learn so much every time you go out there and compete, especially in this discipline that we're all getting more familiar with. And our team is just so excited to be able to go out there on Friday night. We have a special group, a really strong group of individuals, both talented, but also just, the leadership that they display, the care, the passion for the game, and for the want and desire to win. So we just can't wait to have a chance on Friday to do something special.
So what do we expect out of that matchup with Maryland? What are their strengths and weaknesses?
That's a good question. So they had one of the biggest pickups in the offseason. They brought in Allie Kennedy. They had the number one pick coming into the year based off of last year's championship series results. And I think Allie Kennedy is one of the best midfielders in the world. She can run for days. This discipline of sixes is something she really excels at because she is a two-way player. She can play defense, she can score goals, and she can run forever. Her motor is endless. So she's one of the best middies. I feel fortunate that I get to be her teammate on Team USA. So I feel pretty familiar with her game. And then they have one of the best goalkeepers in the world as well, our Team USA goalie, Kaylee Waters. So it's no easy task going against any of these teams, to be honest. All these rosters, they're small rosters and there's 4 teams. So you can imagine the talent,
a lot of talent,
the competitiveness that exists to make one of these teams. Every team is stacked. So you got to game plan a little bit differently for each one, but we can't wait for Friday night.
And then last question for you, the U.S. team, you've got the 2026 World Lacrosse Women's Championship. That's July through August in Tokyo. How is that going to jive with the WLL schedule? Is there a pause during WLL to allow you to go to that and come back?
Yes, there is a pause for the World Cup, and we are just so excited. We're going to have a couple of WLL games leading up to that and then some afterwards, but to be able to have an opportunity to represent the United States and to do it alongside these incredible women and coaches. Acacia Walker is the head coach of the U.S. national team. She was my college coach. I can't believe I get to go to another World Cup. I was lucky enough to be on the team in 2022. 4 years ago, we won gold. We beat Canada in that gold medal game. And to have a chance to do it again and to get to go to somewhere like Tokyo is once in a lifetime. So can't wait for that.
Who should we keep an eye on outside of U.S. and Canada for best in the world heading into 2028?
These teams are developing rapidly. The resources are being, poured in. You're seeing Australia really develop. Japan is another really strong team. There are so many. Great Britain, teams that we've really familiarized ourselves with over, all this international competition, whether it be qualifiers, whether it be, exhibitions, whatever it be. We have really seen so much growth and development. And the Haudenosaunee team as well, the Iroquois team is one of the strongest competitors as well. So, it's no easy task. We really pride ourselves on the amount of training that we put in as a U.S. team and the amount of training camps that we have and how much we beat up on each other to hopefully be prepared for the World Cup. But at the end of the day, these countries are putting out their best rosters. So it is not an easy task to go over there and make it to the gold medal game and hopefully win.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I learned so much from this. You're such a great spokesperson for your sport, and we look forward to watching you this weekend and then later on this summer and hopefully here in Chicago. Thanks so much, Charlotte.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hope to see you at a game in Chicago soon.